welcoming you to our last webinar for 2014. Time's just flown by. It's pretty incredible. Just thinking of doing our first webinar for 2014 in January, and lo and behold, it's already the end of the year. It's incredible. Wanted to wish everybody a very happy New Year from all of us at WSI ALM. I hope you have a terrific 2015. Thanks for all your support for 2014, and Armando, happy New Year to you as well. Welcome to the webinar.
Thank you, Venetia. Yes, good morning to everyone. I definitely look forward to a great webinar today. Again, thanking everyone who's been on attendance at the webinars for the past, over 15 months since we've been running these webinars. And also just a reminder, if you have an IC, a peer IC that you work with, communicate a lot, and you believe that these webinars are very helpful to you and your business, feel free to invite. We can always we can always have more individuals at our presentation. More ICs, the better. We all learn from each other, and definitely everything that we tailor is to help you during your business busy week, to give you the latest information, tips, sales tips, tools of the week. All these things we do for you as our esteemed colleagues in the digital marketing space. So again, just a kindly reminder in there, if you can just notify your peers, any IC that you think that would be great to join, invite them. But again, like Vinny said, thank you for all of your support in 2014. Definitely look forward to even more prosperous 2015 to all of your families, health, happiness, and let's get going.
Fantastic. All right, so we got a really good attendance today. So once again, thank you so much, guys. This is terrific. Very impressed with the attendance today. We didn't think there was going to be a lot of people today, considering it's like one day to the new year, but you guys just are simply awesome. We have a fantastic turnout today, probably one of the best ever across 2014. So definitely appreciate it, and we make it worth your while today for joining us in this webinar. So the usual format, we'll start off with some of the latest news and articles. We got a couple of recap articles for 2014 as well. We thought that we wanted to share with you because it's great information for you, especially if you're into blogging for your own WSI portals or your WSI sites, to repurpose some of the content that's being presented out there, because there's a lot of these best of series that are being put out there by a lot of the leading blogs, and it's always good to take some of that information, take some of that content, add your own 2 cents to it, and then repurpose that content and put it out there. So we'll be starting off with our latest news and articles. Got some really cool stuff to share with you guys. And then one of the focus areas, as mentioned in our previous webinar, is this whole inbound marketing strategy. So we will be focusing on a sort of like a typical inbound marketing campaign. We sort of like have a blueprint. We wanted to share that with you as to how an inbound marketing campaign looks like and what the different ingredients, what the different mediums are in an inbound marketing campaign. So we wanted to share that with you. And then Armando's got a really cool sales tactic that he's going to be sharing with you today. So there's a couple of slides that are dedicated to this particular sales tactic that's been getting a lot of coverage and a lot of industry reviews and a lot of positive reviews about it. So Armando's going to be talking about the sales tactic, and of course we'll be finishing off with our Q&A session towards the end of the webinar. Just a little bit of a heads up on the LaunchPad webinar for 2015. We're trying to make the format even more interesting, even better for 2015 for everybody. So there's a lot that's planned for the LaunchPad webinar series. We plan to get some panel sessions happening, inviting some of the ICs that are subject matter experts in some industry verticals and some areas and mediums, and for having them participate in these panel discussions that we'd be having in these LaunchPad webinars, as well as some guest speakers coming in, some interviews with industry-leading experts and companies out there that are basically providing the best digital marketing support and services. So there's a lot that's planned for our webinar series for 2015, so as to make it even more informative. And we'll definitely keep you posted in terms of all these events that are taking place for our webinar series. All right, so let's just dive right in. So our first order of business was one particular presentation that made a lot of waves in 2014 was basically a presentation that Darren Shaw did. Darren Shaw is the owner of the White Spark brand, the White Spark company that's based out of Edmonton, Alberta in Canada. And White Spark, for the ICs that are aware of, is one of the best citation tools in the industry. We use it quite extensively at WSI ALM. They have something called the White Spark Citation Finder tool that allows you to find local citations for your websites as well as your competitors and help you plot out a whole link building strategy around citation listings. So that's Darren Shaw. Darren did a really interesting presentation which really got a lot of coverage in 2014, especially in the state of search, and it was picked up by Moz, by Rand Fishkin, and then he started participating in this as well. We just thought we'd spend a couple of minutes just to recap in terms of what Darren Shaw talked about, because it was really interesting stuff that he did here. So Darren's premise in this whole presentation was, do clicks affect rankings? And this is what he went out to prove there with the help of his peers and in his industry. So what he did was that he basically set up a test. He made everybody, and this was done live at MozCon, which is Moz's conference organized by Ryan Fishkin and his company. And he basically made everybody go to this URL and click on a particular listing. Right? And then he amplified this request through social media, requested all of his friends to go out there and click on this particular listing. And then he also engaged, I'm just going to move a couple of slides here. So as you can see, these slides show how he kind of amplified this whole test across the board, asking everybody to chip in. Finally, Rand picked it up, and then Rand put out a blog post on this test that he wanted to encourage people to do as well. And what they basically realized was that when they started this test, their position was at 7. And once this test was ongoing and they saw people clicking on this particular link because they asked for everybody's help, click on the link and then browse a couple of pages on the website and then click on the Contact Us page, we want to see if clicks are really influencing rankings. Now what they basically saw that within a couple of hours, or 3 hours itself, the position for this particular website moved from number 7 to number 1 for a particular keyword that they were looking at, which was crazy. So they made a hypothesis that clicks definitely influence rankings, and then they basically decided to research this even more. Rand picked it up, took it to the next level in terms of doing a whole bunch of different tests. And again, I'm not going to go through the whole presentation, but the bottom line is that they saw a distinct reason I'd say a correlation in terms of clicks impacting rankings, which is a very, very powerful correlation. It almost shows you that you can almost manipulate Google results to a certain extent, right? And that was the whole premise that they wanted to test out. And then they did a whole other series of tests because they thought that perhaps the first test was like a hypothesis that they set up, and they did 3 other tests, and the results were all the same. In all the tests, their results got better and better, not just on the organic listings, but even in the local listings as well. So this was like a really, really interesting experiment that was done by Darren Shaw in 2014, and it really exposed, I'd say, Google's vulnerability to an extent on however much they do in terms of making the algorithm foolproof and not having any sort of like black hat tactics being able to work. There's still things that you can do in order to influence the search results. Matter of fact, they also tried to do a negative experiment where they took a website and they decided to give a whole bunch of clicks to that website in a very quick span of time to try and see if there's any sort of negative implications that are associated with that website. And even though their results were inconclusive, the jury's still out there. So I really encourage everybody to kind of spend a little bit of time in this presentation that Darren's done and the results that he shared over here. And again, the whole premise is encourage everybody across the board to look at your website as much as you can. Whenever you're putting out a blog post, make sure that you have a feed that people can subscribe to so that they can click on your blog post, look at your website, and as you can see, there's definitely a distinct correlation with clicks and higher rankings. So this is the first study that we wanted to share with you in our ALM webinar today, which is sort of like an interesting study that brought about some vulnerabilities in Google still that I'm sure Google's going to try and plug in 2015. The other news item for the week was the Yahoo Directory, which is officially closing out. Might be nostalgic for a lot of people, especially some of the ICs that have been in the digital marketing industry for a very, very long time. The Yahoo Directory was primarily how how Yahoo started off in the late 90s, early 2000s. The Yahoo Directory was their main revenue driver because, as you know, they basically charge you for getting a listing in the Yahoo Directory. And Yahoo made a decision sometime in the middle of this year that they wanted to phase out the directory, and they're replacing it with something called Yahoo Small Business. That's what they're replacing it with. And they've officially closed it out 5 days early. They were supposed to do it in the first week of January, but they've closed it out officially. If you do go to the directory page now, you'll see sort of like an interface very similar to how the old directory used to look. This is what's kind of coming up now. And but if you try and access any of the directory listings, you'll be getting an error page. So they haven't really unveiled the plans on what they intend to do with the Yahoo Directory officially, but they are talking about a new product that's going to be tied in with their small business product that they want to replace the Yahoo Directory with. So the Yahoo Directory is officially closed down, which again brings a huge milestone for Yahoo to a close. So the other article that we wanted to talk about a little bit was showcased on Search Engine Land, and it's a fantastic review on what's happened with SEO in 2014. So we wanted to share this particular article with you. And again, this is the content that you can definitely repurpose. There's a lot of great content over here. Aaron, the author of this particular post, has done a great job in summarizing all of the latest stuff that took place in the SEO industry for 2014. And you know, when you sometimes struggle for content ideas, here's an opportunity for you to actually come up with 12 different content pieces, because you can essentially have one content piece focused around each month because there's just so much that's happened across the board from Jan to December. So this is a great recap. I'm just going to touch base on some important things that happened in SEO in this year. In January, Google went 100%. Actually, that happened in February, but in January, there was a couple of penalties that happened. Expedia got a huge penalty in January, which made a lot of news. February, Google moved to 100% secure search, which caused a lot of ruckus in the industry last year when it was introduced, the HTTPS URLs. So they went to 100% secure search, and you would have seen a direct correlation with that in your data and analytics, because your not provided would have shot up. And according to industry stats, it actually topped up to 80% in terms of the keyword stats in analytics. So this was a major thing that happened in February. In March, Google actually reorganized its search results, the way that they display the listings in the first page. They removed some of the underlines, increased the font size, and also changed how the ads were displayed. Because now you see that they have that little yellow sign that says ad. Prior to that, they actually had a shaded box in the ad. So that was a big change that they did. April was all about the Heartbleed bug, as some of the ICs would be aware of. Huge issue. A lot of systems across the board were impacted. It was a big issue with the internet across the board. So that was the news for April. May was all about Panda 4.0. So Panda rolled out in May. eBay was hit massively, and that also led eBay to basically remove Google as a partner when the review came up in November, and they chose to go with Bing, which was almost a decision that they'd basically taken because of the slap that they got from Google in May with the Panda rollout, where eBay got penalized pretty massively. so bad that even their CEO had to acknowledge that publicly in the investor call that he did, because there's about 25 to 30 million dollars in losses that eBay got hit with after this update took place. June was all about Google authorship, where there's a whole bunch of changes that happen in Google authorship. The photographs, you could have your photos displayed previously, they were removed. Your number of Google Plus followers was removed. They used to mention that, so that was removed as well. So June was a big month with regards to a lot of these changes with regards to authorship that took place for that month. July was all about the pigeon update, impacted the local rankings quite massively. We covered this quite extensively in our webinars in July. Looked at the impact of the pigeon update and what it did to the local results. We saw directories like Yelp and other local directories benefit quite extensively. That gave rise to the whole Barnacle SEO strategy, which is to basically try and get your pages within Yelp and all these other local listings to rank high, as opposed to trying to beat them with your own website. Just get your own page within these directories to rank high, which is the whole concept of Barnacle SEO. So that kind of took place, took precedence in July with this whole pigeon update that took place. August was all about Google taking the HTTPS as a ranking signal. So there's this mad scramble that took place on a whole bunch of companies trying to get their sites on a secure URL as opposed to their standard HTTP URL. That actually did more damage than good, because a lot of the companies just jumped in, did this really quickly, created duplicate versions of their websites, HTTP and HTTPS versions of their websites, that led to their rankings dropping. So there's a lot of damage that also got done when companies just kind of jumped on this and decided to convert them into a secure URL, which was an issue in itself. Google again came out with the fact that, look, there's a lot of other things that you can do in order to increase your site's presence in Google, and HTTPS sure is the whole secure URL is a ranking factor, but it's a pretty small ranking factor. So a bunch of other important things that you can do before moving your site to a secure URL. September was relatively quiet. There was basically the search metrics release for their 2014 SEO ranking factors that we again covered in our September LaunchPad webinar. A lot of good information, primarily focusing on high quality content, strong on-page optimization, and user signals. These were their biggest factors that saw our rise in the ranking factors for 2014 for SEO. A great read though. Lots of fantastic stats in this particular report. October, Google refreshed Penguin, the Penguin update. Everybody is waiting for this, because there was a lot of sites had cleaned up their backlink profiles, and Google finally refreshed the Penguin algorithm. So the sites that had actually cleaned up their backlink profiles actually got rewarded and acknowledged for their efforts and their rankings to bounce back. So that was a big news for October, with Google's Penguin really kicking in. November, one of the news items was Google ditching its local carousel. So they used to have like a little scrolly local information box at the top that used to show information for, like, if you typed in top hotels or top restaurants and a city name, it would show you pictures of these hotels or restaurants right on your top browser. It removed it. And it's funny, as soon as Google removed it, Bing picked it up and it started showcasing that carousel for local searches. Didn't really understand the correlation there, but November was the removal of the local carousel for Google, and mobile becoming hugely important as a signal. So much so that Google actually started showcasing text that associated with your website that actually categorized your website as mobile friendly or non-mobile friendly, as well as even showcasing icons against your listing, your actual search results listing, with either a mobile friendly tag or a cross with a mobile icon that signified that your site was not mobile friendly to users that were browsing your website. And again, a friendly reminder, Google's set up a whole bunch of different tools on your Webmaster Tools console so as to check if your site's mobile friendly or not, or ways to make your site mobile friendly. So do definitely take a look at that as well. They've really tried to do a lot in terms of helping us provide a really good mobile experience for visitors that are trying to access our website via a mobile device. December, again, a quiet month, not much happening in terms of December. Bing released its version of the Panda update, and there was a consulting company that released a pretty extensive study on Twitter. All in all, a quiet December as far as SEO is concerned. So just wanted to share this little recap with you. Again, you can definitely take a look at this information and repurpose a lot of this and then utilize it in your own blog posts or educate your clients in your own fashion on what's really transpired for 2014 for the SEO industry. All right, so moving on. So this week saw the release of a fantastic white paper, which is primarily on content marketing. And one of the areas that this white paper focuses on is content marketing tools for 2015. Now, content marketing has been obviously it's been in conversation for a very long time. Everybody knows the importance of content marketing and how important it is for you to do content marketing quite extensively. Google obviously focuses on that. However, the mannerism in which you do content marketing and content syndication is something that's been sort of like a gray area. It's sort of been like up in the air in terms of how you actually do content marketing. And everybody's got their own interpretation of content marketing, syndication, but one of the gray areas is, great, I have great content, I have good content, I have solid content. How do I really promote it out there so as to get the best clicks, the best page views, and really put this content out there? And that's really where this white paper that's been written by an affiliate of Search Engine Land has done such a great job, because this white paper actually talks about all the different kinds of content promotion mediums that are out there. So here's a little index for this white paper in terms of what it deals with, the different subject matter that it addresses, and then there's basically 12 or so or 14 or so vendors that have been discussed quite extensively in this white paper, right from Adobe to Contently to Outbrain. That's something that we've dabbled with quite extensively, Outbrain, and we'd even done a case study in Outbrain with one of our clients in the nonprofit industry, to sites like Visually and Zemanta, which has got a lot of press coverage in terms of syndicating your content. So this white paper has done a fantastic job in really covering all of this information. It's got some great information and some slide decks in it that you can definitely use in your own presentations with your clients. This is one of the best images that I really enjoy when I've read this white paper, is the way that they've described the core elements of content marketing, right from the content creation and curation stage all the way to the content management stage. They break down the entire aspect of content marketing into 5 elements: content creation, amplification and distribution, optimization, analytics, and content management. And then what they do is this white paper goes on to break down all these different tools that are out there and what each tool is capable of doing for your content marketing efforts and what their capabilities are. The white paper further breaks down the costs for all these different vendors, their product focus, what they do, and gives you a lot of in-depth information on each of these vendors, right? So the last 12, 13, 14 pages of this white paper really talk about each vendor, their profile, who uses them, what their pricing what their pricing plans are, analytics support, etc., etc. So again, if you require a copy of this white paper, please shoot us an email. We'll definitely love to send you across a copy of this white paper. Let me just come back to my main screen here. There you go. So, yep, if you'd like a copy of this white paper, just shoot us an email at info@wsialm.com. We'll definitely send it across to you. Great information in this white paper, and thought we'd share this with you. All right, so another article that we wanted to showcase, which again has some pretty interesting stats, just one-worded stats that you can use in your presentations, is an article that was showcased on Search Engine Watch. Talks about some of the stats that were exposed in 2014, and I'm just going to open up this particular article here. Again, some pretty hard-hitting, one-liner stats that you can utilize in your presentations to your prospects and to your clients. For example, organic search was the largest driver of traffic to websites across the sectors studied, largest driver of revenue, even over paid search. Hence, the importance of investing in organic search that you can drive to your clients. If your clients are in the insurance verticals, here's a pretty interesting stat. 30% of traffic to insurance sites came from search, according to a study that was done. 60% of direct traffic is actually organic search traffic. This is a stat that just blows our mind away. And this was done by an experiment that was conducted by Groupon, a fascinating experiment. I suggest you look it up on Google and just type in Groupon organic experiment, and the entire experiment's going to come up. It was very well documented by the Groupon marketing team. They wanted to really try and understand where all this direct traffic was coming from, and they came to the determination that 60% of all the traffic that was showing up as direct traffic via the analytics was actually organic search traffic that they were getting. An excellent study that they did, and we covered this in our LaunchPad webinar. Mobile implementations errors are costing sites 68% of organic search traffic. Again, the importance of having a mobile friendly website and having it indexed properly by Google. Another great stat for upselling clients on the importance of mobile friendly websites and responsive websites as and when needed. SEO is one of the most effective acquisition channels for 85% of the retailers, according to shop.org. Again, a great stat for some of the e-commerce prospects that you might be having out there. So this is on the organic side. Then they have some content stats as well, broken down for B2B and B2C. Things like 83% of B2B marketers use content for lead generation. Website traffic is a key metric for tracking content success. And the percentage is pretty high even for B2C. 77% of B2Cs are using content marketing, and their main goal was engagement with regards to the content that they were putting out there. Analytics, again, there's some pretty interesting stats. 44% of CMOs say that they lack quantitative metrics to demonstrate the impact of the marketing spend. Great for the WSI consultants to go in and utilize this particular pain point that the CMOs have to try and establish their consulting opportunities within organizations, right? 67% of companies out there do not formally evaluate their quality of marketing analytics. Again, something that is a huge pain point for you to go in and establish proper analytics parameters for companies. And despite all the previous stats, spend on marketing analytics is set to increase by 73% in the next 3 years. Something to definitely consider in terms of analytics and reporting. There's an opportunity here, so it's a good opportunity for a lot of the ICs to position themselves correctly to capitalize on this demand that's going to be essentially going up in the next 3 years for better marketing analytics support. Again, great article, lots of one-worded, one-sentenced one-liners in there that you can easily add into your presentations. All right, so brings us to our inbound methodology section here. So as we mentioned, we are now officially HubSpot certified. We're the first production center to be HubSpot certified, working with some of you on some HubSpot proposals pretty closely. And giving you one-on-one support when it comes to these HubSpot potentials that we have. Just a quick reminder on the inbound methodology. It's all about the 4 stages of attracting, converting, closing, and delighting your customers, right? The methodology starting from the attract phase, where you put out blogs, keywords, do a lot of socials just to attract your target audience to yourself, establish yourself as a thought leader. Once you establish yourself as a thought leader, you convert them into leads. The way that you convert them is through forms and landing pages on your website. Once you've converted them into leads, then you basically have to close them. You close them by utilizing standardized workflows, standardized email marketing campaigns, whether it's via newsletters or email nurturing campaigns, depending on how you segregate your lead lists, utilizing your CRM more effectively. You close them, get them to become customers of yours, and then you want to delight your customers. And the way that you delight your customers and constantly monitor them is by doing constant surveys, getting them to rate you, rank your services, and monitoring their performance on an ongoing basis and evaluating what's working and what's not for your customers. Right, so that's the basic premise for an inbound methodology. We had tons of requests come in from the ICs to actually see what this really means in terms of running an actual inbound campaign as far as the various different steps are concerned. And we wanted to showcase this resource that is, it's a publicly accessible resource. This is the URL. It's actually in our presentation as well. It's HubSpot.com, the Academy Inbound Plan. And what this does is that this basically plots out the entire methodology for you in a very easy to understand manner. And what are the steps that are required for an inbound marketing campaign in order to run a smooth inbound marketing campaign? Right, so just going to touch base on this at a very sort of a top level. Feel free to take a deeper dive into this page to really understand how inbound marketing works. But there's three main aspects to inbound marketing that every single inbound marketing plan starts off with. The first phase is your goal setting. And HubSpot recommends the SMART goal setting methodology, which is all about specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound goals that you set for yourself. Once you've set up your goals, you want to make sure that you have your buyer personas captured. If you just have one target audience, one buyer persona that you focus on, that's your most profitable audience that you go after, great, stick with that. If you have multiple buyer personas, set them all up so that this way you are setting up different campaigns targeted at different personas. You know, inbound marketing is all about customization. It's not about one size fits all, right? So create your buyer personas. And then another important activity is to map your and audit your existing content. So if there's ways and means where you can look at your current content and you can repurpose some of that content and then target it towards your buyer personas and market it better, you definitely want to utilize your current existing assets before you start investing in new assets. So the whole content mapping and auditing part is a part of the setup phase of your inbound marketing methodology. Depending on how much content you have. If you don't have content, great, you got to start from scratch. But if you do have content, then this whole mapping of content and seeing what content resonates well with your buyer personas or what's worked well in the past is really, really good, important insight for you for your next phase. And the next phase, once you've basically set up your goals, you've set up your buyer personas, you've mapped out your content, the next phase is to really start building out offers. So what you do is you start by building out offers targeted at your different buyer personas based on what their pain points are, because you've done the due diligence, you've understood what your buyer personas are, you've understood their pain points, you've understood where they hang around, you know, in what mediums do they absorb the content. Is it LinkedIn that they're spending a lot of time on? Then you know that that's an area that you need to focus on. Is it certain websites that they interact with quite extensively? For example, if you're talking about lawyers, there's certain legal forums that they interact quite extensively on. So that's the whole insight that you get when you're doing the buyer persona study, right? Once you've set that up, you start with your offer. So you set up your offer. The offer can be a compelling offer based on their pain points. And then you have content that's built around that offer. Right, so this can be an ebook, it can be a blog post, it can be a white paper, like a white paper that we just kind of went through. And then what you do is once you have your offer as well as the content around the offer build up, you then build up your conversion path for that offer. And this comes in the form of building out landing pages, and all of this can be done through HubSpot itself. It allows you the functionality of doing all of this within its system itself. So the way that you build up your conversion paths, there's threefold activity. You set up your landing pages, right? You set up your thank you pages. One of the biggest and the most neglected areas of I would say marketing in general, and especially when it comes to paid advertising, PPC, and landing pages, is the focus on thank you pages. Your thank you pages are one of the most important areas because this is where a person has basically converted. They are now looking at your page, and the thank you page is an opportunity for him to engage, for you to engage them even more and take them into other areas of interest that they might have as far as your website is concerned. And a lot of people tend to neglect that and just have an empty sort of a thank you page that says, thanks for signing up and we'll be in touch with you. But I encourage you to watch this video and that educates you on the importance of thank you pages and what you can do so as to make your thank you pages more appealing and more interactive for your visitors. And of course, call to action, right? So now you've got your offer set up, right? You've got your landing pages, your conversion paths set up. The next logical thing to do is to promote the offer so that you can start driving traffic to these landing pages and start converting some of these leads based on the buyer personas that you've developed. And the ways that you promote your offer include email, include social media, include content, of course, content based on keyword research that you've done, and doing a whole bunch of extensive blogging, right? Now, as you can see, this primarily focuses on a lot of the organic side of things, right? You can see email, social, keywords, and blogging, which is all organic. You can also incorporate some paid media in the promotion aspects of inbound marketing. So you can utilize PPC. You can utilize PPC on your traditional, Google, Bing, your top tier search engines. You can even do some paid social media PPC, right? Some paid social media, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, so as to promote whatever your call to action is, whether it's a white paper download or what have you, right? So you can definitely incorporate some paid mediums in your promotion component. And then have them supplement the organic component that you're already doing, right? And once you have this whole promotion aspect taken care of, now you're driving tons of traffic and you're converting on these offer and landing pages that you've set up, time comes for analysis. And this is where you look at your analytics, you look at your reporting, see what's working, what's not working, do you need to change your offers, etc., and make various decisions on your campaign overall, right? So this overall is essentially a premise of an inbound marketing campaign. Just to summarize really quickly, you start with 3 activities: goal setting, buyer personas, and content mapping. Then you go on to setting up your offer, building up your conversion paths, and then your call to action based on your conversion paths that you've set up. Once you have your groundwork done, your foundation laid out, you start the promotion aspect of inbound marketing. You can utilize different mediums like email, social media, keywords, blogging, paid media in order to promote the offers that you've set up for your personas. And then finally, bring it all together with the analytics section for inbound marketing. It's really well summarized in this graphic at the bottom that I'm showcasing here, where again they talk about their 3-scale methodology: attract, convert, close. And you can see the different sort of activities that you can do in each of these phases in order to make an impact. All right, so hopefully this has been a sort of a good session as far as what a typical inbound marketing campaign is all about and how you do inbound marketing, right? If you have any questions, please do feel free to give us a shout. We can definitely set up one-on-one consultations with regards to these sessions. But just wanted to sort of give you a bit of an insight into what the inbound marketing methodology really is and what that translates into in terms of actual things that you need to do. All right, so at this stage I'm going to pass it on to Armando. Armando, as I mentioned, has a really cool analogy in terms of sales that he wanted to showcase this week that he set up or discovered rather with one of the ICs that we're working very, very closely with. So I'll let Armando take over at this stage.
Thanks, Anish. Great. Thank you for the information on the inbound marketing. And again, I know all this information may be new or new to a lot of ICs, and part of our goal as a supplier is to help you throughout the process. So questions or any comments or feedback, feel free to email us. I know when we launched Adaptive SEO last year, there was a bit of a I would say probably the first 30, 45 days of a lot of questions and trying to determine what would be the role. I know that in the next few slides, Venetia, we've talked about sharing with you, if you were to have an inbound a HubSpot client, what would be your expectations, the IC expectations, the supplier expectations, and deliverables, as well as your clients. So that way, you know what your role is within the HubSpot or inbound marketing methodology. So just wanted to share that with you as well, because I know it's a lot of information. Great. So yes, I wanted to share this week with you a great book. As a matter of fact, you can say it's a sales methodology that was brought to my attention by Heidi Schwende from Toronto, and thank you, Heidi, for this. Definitely, we're always on the lookout for new ideas to share with the group. And part of the role of the IC is really to put the sales hat on. Right? Yes, we are consultants. We do provide a certain level of advice, consulting to our clients, as trusted advisors, and kind of talked about that methodology in itself. And this one specifically is something that's been out there for about 2 years. The Challenger Sale, and I kind of wanted to bring it into context of the life of the internet consultant. Sometimes, we're always trying to find out better ways to become better consultants, better, in essence, salespeople, because we do wear that hat, or somebody in your team wears that hat. And this is a great book that was shared with us by Heidi, and a great discovery, as a matter of fact. And with any sales methodology, I've been in sales for probably about 10, 12 years myself. And with any methodology, you have to really, take the best from it and reject the rest, because there's a lot of information out there, a lot of methodologies that sometimes they are counterintuitive or they don't just make sense. So I myself am very selective. And in this case, the Challenger Sale, this book by Matthew Dixon and Brent Adamson, I thought it would be good to share with you and take some of the key things from their studies and hopefully translate it to our IC community. Again, if you want to pick up the book, you can buy it at the bookstore or online. Amazon has it. It's by Matthew Dixon and Brent Adamson. And one of the reasons I kind of like this book is because the fact of the matter is that they actually did do a great deal of study. It was the Challenger Sale. As a matter of fact, they took on a study of 6,000 reps. Sales reps across nearly 100 companies in multiple industries, and it took them 3 years to come up with this information. So right there, there's a bit, there's strong on source. So it is something that you want to review. Again, some of it may apply very well with you, some of it won't, and I'll try to share some of the things based on my experience working with the ICs that would definitely apply to some of our challenges. So the Challenger Sale is based on one of the, like I said, largest studies ever conducted. One of the key findings was that 53% of customer loyalty is driven by the sales experience. It's not necessarily by the brand, so it doesn't matter what brand you have, it doesn't matter the price, the service, or even the product. It's really you, the sales experience, how you facilitate that sales experience as a consultant or as a sales professional. So that was one of the key findings, and definitely that's that relationship. And I want to be very, very specific and careful in using the word relationship, because they kind of talk a lot about that, but it's really in the interaction. What that initial, from gathering the lead, making initial contact with that potential prospect, to closing that prospect and offering the services and beyond, it's really dictated by that interaction. So you will talk a little bit about that. And what is the definition of the Challenger Sale? So basically, the Challenger Sale is a sale in which the rep teaches, or the sales professional, the sales consultant, teaches the prospect something about their business, tailors their pitch to resonate with customers' concerns, or pain point, highlights a pain point, and takes control of the sales process. Now, in traditional selling, you'd usually, specifically in the last few years with spin selling, a lot has been put into pain, touching the pain, even with Sandler training, hitting the pain and communicating your message across by highlighting what the client's or prospect concerns are. In this case, two things stand out with the challenger sale approach. One of them is the fact of the matter that one of the things that you're doing in the initial stages of the sales process is you're actually teaching the prospect something about their business. Okay, so that means that you've taken the time to understand the client's business, and outside the box thinking, or something extraordinary comes out of your research that puts a seed or plants a seed into the client where he's actually learned something new. It differentiates you from the competition. When you walk into a new prospect's IBA or initial call, sometimes the client or the prospect will tell you, "Oh, I know what I want," and they take control from the beginning of what they think they actually want and they require in their business. You do have those educated customers, and the book actually talks about the fact that nowadays when we're speaking, and it's very true, I mean, we're marketeers, we know about this, that customers really know a lot more than what we think about their needs. So because they quote unquote know about their needs, they already think of the solution, and all they want you to do is to implement it or to deliver it, right? But in this case, you kind of want to come up with a different approach where you're actually teaching them something new that adds value, right, to the conversations, to the initial discovery periods, where pretty much you have to awe them. You have to kind of differentiate yourself, and that's something very important that's not done with traditional sales, because it becomes so standardized that you already know, you're picking up your presentation, you're drafting your presentation, very methodical, very sequential in essence, and you forget to bring that special approach, that approach that identifies you, singles you out, right? So it's very important to next time you're working on your IBA or working on approaching a client, that the message that you communicate is something that you're teaching them that's new, right? What is it that they don't know? Right? So that's very important. You're doing your homework. Obviously, like I said, tailor the pitch, which is part of traditional sales. And then the third component, it's take control of the sales process. Now, this is where I personally, from my experience, will tell you that this is where the sale can be won or lost, right? And he talks about the authors talk about 5 different types of sales professionals, which we'll talk in a second, but definitely I've seen sales lost at this stage because the IC or the sales consultant has not been able to take control of the sales process, right? And that's because due to personality traits, maybe the prospect is more dominant in this dance of selling and buying, right? So sometimes you have to assert yourself. You are the expert. You've been brought on to do this proposal, this presentation, because they're counting on you. So at times you do have to definitely take control of the sales process, because if you can't do this right now at this stage, how would you be able to manage the client throughout the process of the relationship or throughout the relationship, right? So taking control of the sales process is very important. So we'll touch a little bit more on that. Vinish, if you don't mind, please just move to the next slide. Okay, thanks. So here, Matthew and Matt and Brent talk about, they define the sales profiles in 5 areas: the hard worker, the lone wolf, the relationship builder, the challenger, and the problem solver. And I can tell you that all of us have a little bit of this in us, right? Maybe in some areas we're stronger in some of these 5 profiles, and in others, we need to work on. Right? And in some others, maybe our personality trait does not help us, but we have to adapt some of these specific traits into our own consultancy or our own salesmanship or our own sales game, right? So the hard worker, if we start with the hard worker, who would be a typical, what are some of the typical traits? What do they do? Basically, this is the guy that you see in corporate America that shows up early, stays late, always goes the extra mile for the clients, for their customers. Also, they have such a strong work ethic. They'll be able to, those are the ones that are making more calls in an hour and conduct more visits in a week, and they're the ones that are kind of going out there making it happen, right? That's the hard worker. And some of us are like that, I know some ICs that I work with, I'm already getting pinged on Skype by 7 a.m. Eastern time. So, and I get emails at 2 a.m. in regards to sales. So I know that some of us have this, a specific profile or training us. So that's the hard worker. The second one that he talks about, and the way these are defined, I'm going to get to the end on why the challenger is a little bit different. But the second one that he talks about is the lone wolf. And I've kind of worked with these ICs, these consultants in the past. Basically, they follow their own instincts. They're self-assured. They deliver results, but are difficult to manage. So as a production team, sometimes it's tough for us to work with them because they're the rule-breaking cowboys of the sales force. So these are the ICs that, they have a presentation at 10 a.m. and they'll contact you at 9 a.m. because they want your feedback, last-minute feedback, or even in some cases a quote. Or these are the individuals that, they're lone wolves. They like to go hunting on their own. And for some of the ICs, this works very well. This is the way their personality is, and more power to them. So those are the lone wolves. Don't necessarily like to work on a wolf pack or work with a wolf pack. They're more on their own. Then the next one is the relationship builder, and this is a lot of emphasis that has been put in sales methodologies for probably the last I would say probably the last 20 plus years, more strongly in the last 10, 15, where it's all about building relationship, and this is what they call the classic consultative sales professional or sales rep. And these are the individuals that focus on developing strong personal and professional relationships, right? They advocate internally across the customer organization, always fighting for their prospect, providing them with added value. They're generous with their time, strive to meet customers' every need, and work hard to resolve tensions as well. So these are the individuals that want to make sure that the whole environment or atmosphere is really all about relationship. It's all about protecting that relationship, and that works to a certain degree, right? And it's nothing bad. There's nothing bad about this. I mean, I myself will tell you that when I was reading this, I fall a lot on this category. And there is pros and there's also cons, because sometimes, you as a consultant, you can be taken advantage of from a client that's always asking you for additional extra information, or from a prospect, even at the prospect level, where you're providing them with information, and in reality, you're doing free consulting. And I know some ICs are very good at, creating a line and saying, that's it, we got to move forward. If you want more, you got to definitely pay me for that, pay me for my time, or sign on the contract, right? So, but sometimes, with the goal or the end in mind of winning a new client, we stress a lot on the relationship building fact, and in doing so, we sometimes unconsciously lose control of the process, lose control of the sales process, right? So that's the relationship builders. Then we have the problem solver, and the problem solver, really what the authors talk about is it's a type of a reactive sales consultant, where they do have some great traits, from a customer standpoint. They're highly reliable and detail-oriented. They focus on post-sales follow-up, which is very important. They ensure that the services that are being provided in relation to implementation and execution are done properly, quickly, thoroughly, right? However, they are sometimes reactive, which can be a con, because it can take away time from your as a consultant, as an IC. It can take valuable time from money-making activities, right? Because now you're focusing more on this new prospect as opposed to going out there and looking for more. You tend to focus too much on those customers, and what ends up happening is, if you're an IC that only has 5 clients, they're paying you very handsomely, but if you lose one of them, that could be about 20% or 15% or 10% of your monthly sales revenue, right? Recurrent revenue. So what you want to focus on is, don't stop, go out there and get more businesses. But when you're a problem solver, you want to just focus on those clients. And sometimes, that can cost you as well. And let's talk about the challenger, which is the final one, number 5, which is very interesting. And I'm learning a lot as I go with you in this discovery. But in this case, these are the ones that they have a deep understanding of the customer's business, right? So they understand. They don't just briefly look at the website. They actually try to understand through the IBA what the customer's business needs are, and they push their thinking and take control of the sales conversation. So what that means is that they're not afraid to share, some controversial views, provide a different view of the world, bring outside the box a thinking to it. Definitely, they push the customer. They're open to debating and basically, creating a bit of I guess rift, or not necessarily a rift, but you're planting a seed where the customer will respect you more because you're telling them the truth. And this is very important too. Why? Because in working with some ICs, sometimes I find that some ICs try to fit a square in a round peg, and they want to provide them the service because I want to help this client. They don't have a big budget, they have a small budget, but I want to help them somehow, and they try to fit the solution where it doesn't fit, and as opposed to really going back to the client and saying, listen, I can help you, but you got to look at this side of the business. You got to be able to also challenge your prospect and tell them, in order for you to be able to do effective search engine optimization or digital marketing period, you have to have the budget to do it. Same thing will happen. You have to qualify. Maybe you haven't properly qualified your client, so now you're trying to provide them a solution that doesn't fit. So it's very important that we take some of this approach from the challenger, that you are not afraid to share even potentially controversial views, and you're assertive. Okay, so you stand your ground. Okay, so if you know that your client, or even your prospect is not following your process, your sales process, is deviating from your methodology, you know what? You can actually call them out and basically challenge them. And the reason you're able to do this in a professional way is because challengers teach their customers. They basically provide insights. They bring a very unique perspective. Challengers, they tailor their message to the customer. So they're finely tuned messages. They're not on the fly that you just picked up. When you go into that meeting to present that proposal, you thought about it. You're not just whipping out the presentation, the PPT, and you're going in there. You actually think about how you're going to approach this. You ask for feedback from peers, perhaps. And challengers take control of the sale. They're not aggressive. They're, like I said, they're assertive, but they're comfortable asking the uncomfortable questions, right? And because of that, they can be more successful. If you go to the next slide, please, Vinish, I just want to kind of share some of the results of the challengers that they've taken from doing the study of 6,000 reps. Just give me a quick second. There we go. Okay, so these are some of the sales results, and that have come up with from this study is that 40% of high sales performers primarily use the challenger style as opposed to one of the other 4 sales styles the book identified. So the 4 that I actually the other 4 that I shared with you. High performers were more than 2 times likely to use the challenger approach than any other approach. More than 50% of all-star performance fit the challenger profile in complex sales, and only 7% of top performers took a relationship building approach, and they actually were the worst performing profile. Okay, so this study of 6,000 sales professionals does shed some light that as we move into 2015, maybe we need to take on a little bit of the challenger profile in our prospecting activities, in our customer management activities, in order to win more clients, continue to build stronger relationships with our existing clients, and be able to retain them, upsell them, cross-sell them, renew them, etc. So I wanted to share this with you. The book is you can buy it on Amazon. I'm going to, over the next few weeks, I'll probably be bringing a few more insights into the book. Again, it's something that you want to take the best and you want to reject the rest. Whatever makes sense to you. Definitely, if there's something that challenges you, try it. If you don't try, you're not going to learn. So a great, I thought it was it's a great model to review and see how we can implement it in our everyday IC business and sales lives. Vinish?
Right on. Awesome. That was great, Armando. Thanks for sharing. Terrific stuff to close out our webinar series for 2014. Let's get into our Q&A session now. Give me one sec. I'm just going to open up our Q&A box. There's a few questions here, so I'm going to take them up. All right, so there's a lot of requests coming in for the links to the content marketing white paper. I think there's some that have already been sent out, but yep, if you could just send us an email at info@wsialm.com or just request Armando for a copy, we'll definitely send that across to you. There's a lot of appreciation for the sales advice that's coming in, Armando, so thanks for that. The content was definitely appreciated. That's great. That's pretty much it. So great. Thanks once again for joining on our webinar series for this week and the last one for 2014. Again, wishing everybody a really, really happy new year from all of us here at WSI ALM. And we will be with you in the new year 2015 next Tuesday, 11 a.m. with our next edition of our LaunchPad Webinar series. Take care, everyone, and have a safe New Year's. Take care.